If you can stay open-handed with it, you can do a retreat anytime you want to. You don't necessarily have to have like a yoga studio. You don't necessarily have to have packed out classes. But do you have some people who are like following you because they want what it is that you are bringing to the table? And once that's established, honestly, it doesn't take long to get people involved.
It's true. Once you kind of know what it is that you want to put out, like what you want to share with people, what do you, like we always say, what do you want people to know, feel, and do? Right? And once you know the answer to those questions and you just start pushing that out into whatever space you're in, the social media, wherever you're at, people are going to be attracted to that. Welcome to the Jesus Coffee Yoga Podcast. I'm Kristen, your host, one of your hosts today, and we are actually on retreat right now recording this podcast. This is our first little podcast vacation, if you will. And since we're here on retreat, we thought it would be an awesome opportunity to chat with you about how you can lead retreats yourself, or maybe lead different ones or bigger ones. And so I have learned a lot of everything I do. I've learned from my amazing friend, Sarah Hall. You guys will get to hear from her. But one of the things that I have learned so well in leading with her and just serving under her is how to take what I'm learning from her and express that to the people I get to lead. So I asked her to come to this podcast and to this retreat and chat with us to see if she can share some of that with you guys and hopefully help you lead your best retreat. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so glad to be here.
First off, before we start, we want to hear all about you and all the wisdom you have. We want to know what's in your cup.
I have a London fog tea. And I think you gave me like an oat milk cookie.
Oh, that's right. Oat milk. It was oat milk creamer. It was oatmeal cookie. Is it good?
Yeah, it is good.
Okay.
I've never had it before. It was a big risk for me.
It's a big risk.
Big risk.
You're a pretty big risk taker. I don't know.
Am.
I'm just drinking hot chocolate, but I wish it was cold chocolate. I kind of just wish it was chocolate milk.
Does she feel warm?
I'm a little warm. So anyways, thank you for being here. I'm so excited. We've gotten to lead together in several retreats now, and we're actually going to Costa Rica soon together, and I'm so excited. Yeah. So tell us just a little bit about who you are, what you do, all the things.
Okay. Well, first, I adore you. I'm so glad to be here. It's my honor to get to kind of jump in on this and be with you. But my name is Sarah Hall. I have been teaching yoga for, I think we're going on 19 years. My very first retreat that I led probably was in 2009. I think I did the math right. So a long time ago. I am married to Charlie Hall. Shout out to all those people that grew up on his worship music.
That's right.
And I'm wearing his shirt today. Welcome. Totally accidental. Anyway, we have 4 kids. I live in Oklahoma City, and I am also a counselor / therapist, and continue to do healing retreats and teach yoga on occasion.
So tell us how you got started in retreats. Like, how'd you go from being like a yoga teacher, teaching in studios and things like that, to just kind of shifting into retreats?
Okay. You actually probably don't even know this. So this will be a fun answer. When I first became a Christian, which was also about 19, 20 years ago, I had really felt strongly that I wanted to create spaces for people to come and be poured into mentally, physically, spiritually, and heal. It just was something that was deep on my heart. And so I had actually started a nonprofit, and I was seeking to buy retreat spaces with no money, of course. So it was very boisterous of me, but that was kind of my plan. It was just like, okay, we need to find a space and we need to do this and it'll be great. And then that kind of died off, and I didn't do any retreats for about 10 years. Which is crazy when you think about it, but you know how God just does that. He like wires the path. So all of a sudden, I like find myself later realizing like, oh, I have some access to some people with some houses and some fun places. And that's kind of where it started. Yeah. I was like, well, I have a friend who's willing to let me use her space. Let's kick this off. And that would have been, actually 10 years ago. Because, someone that signed up for our Costa Rica retreat was at that retreat 10 years ago when she was 17.
Where was your first retreat?
It was at Carlton Landing.
Yes. Yeah, Eufaula.
Mm-hmm. like you follow. So I just jumped in. I had a yoga studio at the time. So I kind of had a base of a lot of people around kind of wanting a little bit more. And I had just kind of stumbled into a little bit more of like story work and some of those things that I was understanding about like healing and therapy. And so, I really dove in. And I think I charged like $5. It was
You paid to have a retreat?
I paid to go on retreat with all these people.
So like, how did you know, like, as you were, teaching, cause I know what you're saying. Like when you're teaching these classes, these people, you have like a core group of people who are like, it can be like literally earthquakes, snow, fire, all at the same time. And they're there, like they're just ride or dies. And that it seems like retreats are a great way to take them deeper, right? How did you know when that was? Like, what are they asking? How do you know, like, you're ready for that? And maybe you weren't ready for that. You just jumped in, but.
Yeah. I mean, I think particular to me, it was because there was already a history of desire there for me. So I knew that I was seeing such a response in my classes of people actually allowing themselves to sink out of their day-to-day life and actually maybe encounter the voice of God for the first time in a while. Get quiet, get still. And so, of course, my heart was like, I could see all these things kind of coming up for them. And I'm like, oh, I want to sit with them and create a space, a sacred space to just like hold this with them for a little bit longer than 60 minutes once a week.
Yeah. What would you tell the teacher who's like kind of there? She's like, okay, like I have this desire to do more, and honestly, like just in a financial sense. I mean, it's a great like raise for yourself as a yoga teacher. It is a lot of work, but it's so worth it. And I'm ready for that next step. What would you tell her or him? What would you tell them to, like, they're ready? Like they're hearing this, they're like, yeah, that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. What do I do now?
Yeah. Well, there's so many different personalities. So this is going to be hard because I'm not like, I'm going to jump even if I have no idea what I'm doing. And I will risk failing because that's how I'm going to learn the best. And it's going to be the most fabulous thing ever.
So much sense for my business partner right now because he's like, you forgot your parachute. Here, I got it for you.
Yeah. I'm like, okay. But to be honest, I do think it's like kind of taking a little bit of inventory. Like, I really did sit back and go, God, if you want me to start stepping into this, then I'm going to need to see some of the resources you've already kind of placed around me. So I think fundamentally looking around, do you know anyone that has a space? Because I think at first, because it is a big investment, because it's work and you don't know what to expect, you don't even know what to charge yet. It's great to just start by like seeing what is around you, what kind of people are around you that can help, that want to participate and jump in with you, what kind of themes or things you really feel passionate about, that this is what you want to go deeper in or bring to people. Everyone always has this that leads retreats. They have something of their calling, of their purpose that ends up being what those retreats become. Yeah. And you know that from your experience. I know that from mine. So really it's about knowing what is that and then looking around, gathering your resources. And then I do think it's just taking a leap. I think there's some fundamental practices as far as like planning financially. And maybe there's someone in your crew that does that really well.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, help me out here.
Help me with this. Yeah.
Is there a teacher that maybe you would say, hold on, it's probably not the time? So we have some people that like, they're just starting out and they don't even have like a student base. Would it make sense for them to try to offer retreats? Probably not, because who are you going to offer your retreat to? So there might be a period of like building that core base first. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think the reality is if you can stay open-handed with it, you can do a retreat anytime you want to. But yes, if you don't have any community following you, you don't necessarily have to have like a yoga studio. You don't necessarily have to have packed out classes. But do you have some people who are like following you because they want what it is that you are bringing to the table? And once that's established, honestly, it doesn't take long to get people involved.
It's true. Once you kind of know what it is that you want to put out, like what you want to share with people, what do you, like we always say, what do you want people to know, feel, and do, right? And once you know the answer to those questions and you just start pushing that out into whatever space you're, the social media, wherever you're at, people are going to be attracted to that. Yeah. And so we were even having a conversation earlier about trauma sensitivity and things like that. And I'm like, I've never had this happen before. And you were saying to this other leader that, that's probably has a lot to do with your calling and who you're called to reach. And I'm like, it's just different. Yes. Like, it's so different. But once you know the answer to those questions, what do you want people to know, feel, and do? Then I think then you can kind of lead into that. And so,
Yeah.
yeah.
And start small. Like,
Yeah.
that's the thing. Like, you do not want to go out and plan a mega trip to Hawaii or Mexico on a first time experience. Because I have also done that. First trip to Costa
That
Rica.
would be your, what would you tell us not to do?
Yes.
That's what you would do?
Well, yeah, we'll go down that road when we
I
get there.
I'm holding that question in. It's coming though. I'm holding that question in. But I think that's a really valid point, is start small, because I remember, I think the first thing I ever did was a half-day retreat, and it was literally like 8 to noon. And that felt bite size. Yeah. You can charge a lower rate that kind of helps you build some confidence, because it is hard when you're like, it's going to be $1,000. You're like, $1,000.
I'm going to write this in very fine print.
And it's like, that's
pay
a lot
what
of
you
money.
want, but it's $1,000.
But it's like, it's a lot of money to, these retreats, because it costs a lot of money and all of that. And so maybe start small with like a $50 ticket price. And then you do like a Friday night, Saturday to, 24 hours. Then you go for a weekend. This retreat, we're doing 3 nights and 4 days. And then we're going for how
6
many
days, 5 nights.
Okay, yeah, 6 days, and maybe 7.
Maybe if we stay longer.
We stay a little longer. And so it's like, then you just start to build out. And something that I think that I did and that I would recommend to teachers, since you asked.
You're welcome.
I would say go along with other people who are doing it. Like, just jump in with other yoga teachers. Can I come serve you? Can I come just be a fly on the wall? I'll do whatever you need me to do while we're there, because I've learned more about teaching retreats just by literally being a fly on the wall at your retreats and just watching how you interact with people, watching how you budget things. Like, I watched you in your notes section with your grocery list. I was like, that's smart. The way she did that, like, that was so smart. And how you, just those little things that, like, yeah, I mean, if you wrote a book and wrote it all out, I could go and read it, but to watch you and to have my hands in it, and just get to be there and see how you lead, taught me more than probably a book would.
Absolutely. It's always, right? Experience is always going to be a better teacher than reading something. But also, I want to offer this, because while you said that, it reminded me, the very first retreat I led was actually with my Bible study group. And so that's also a good way to just get the experience, because there's so many things you're not going to think of that you learn on the fly, right? But if you practice with people that you're already kind of safe with, it's just like when you started teaching, like, you practiced with people hopefully you were safe with. Like, a couple of friends came over and you did it in your living room to get your like lingo down and the way you wanted to talk and how you wanted to direct. It's pretty much the same thing. So I took a group of people that were they were in my Bible study. I'd known them for years. And we went to Lake Tenkular, I think, and did just they pitched in for food.
Yep. And that's a great, just say, hey, I want to learn how to, just like you're a yoga teacher, I want to learn how to teach this type of yoga. I want to learn how to teach whatever. I want to learn how to lead a retreat. Does anybody want to go? All we're going to do is just split the cost for this first retreat.
Yes.
And then you're getting to take notes along the way of what you need. I need a second person. I will not go to retreat without at least 2 people. Yeah. I don't want to cook next time. Or, everybody hated the food, whatever. And you can just take notes. And those people, and it really is like a triple blessing, when you're able to go and serve and learn from someone, or whenever you get to bless people with a really inexpensive retreat because you need to learn, it blesses them. And so I think that's really good. Tell me about a time, we're already both laughing. Tell our listeners about just a crazy retreat story. I think we all need to feel like, okay, first of all, it's not going to be perfect. No retreat, not one single retreat. You do refine them. They do get more predictable. They do get easier. And I would have never recorded a podcast even last year when I first started doing retreats a lot more ever, because I needed all my attention to be, so I never would have had the freedom to do this because I wasn't there yet. They're never perfect. No. But sometimes there's some crazy things that happen. So tell us one of yours.
I mean, okay. So Costa Rica, first time I went, 2018. I'd actually never even been to Costa Rica before, but again, my personality is like, I can fully lead a retreat there. I don't see why not. I know what to do. And honestly, the planning and the booking and reserving the vehicles and all that stuff was super easy to do from the United States. I was able to get on the phone with people, make sure everything happened. We went in a couple days early so we could learn the terrain. So big thing to know about other countries especially is what might be an hour and a half drive here in the USA, You're like, oh, it's 90 miles from the airport. Surely that's not a far drive. It's going to be great. In other countries, it's not necessarily like that. So like in Costa Rica, that 90 miles took 4.5 hours. Okay, so we get there early. We have this figured out, thankfully, a few days early. We go down or get the bus that we rented, which was like a 15-passenger van. And I was picking up 11 people at the airport plus their luggage. So I'm like, great, 15-passenger van, should be good. Everything's great. Well, we get there and they're like, oh, we accidentally gave yours away. So here's a 12-passenger van for your 11 people and all their luggage. And I went, okay. But we didn't have a choice. We were going to make it work. We get to the airport and there were some really nice people that helped us stack the luggage on top of the van and strap it down. Off we go. We get to our halfway mark. I already know where we're going. We've driven this before. It's great. In Costa Rica, there aren't really addresses. There's more like geographical locations, and they give you the latitude and longitude, and you're like, okay. So I'm in the car. We're driving. We stop at the halfway point to use the restrooms, just check things out. And I'm using Waze, the app, to do my direction.
You were driving?
Oh yeah,
okay,
I was driving.
I don't remember that part.
I was fully in it. I didn't know anyone yet. I didn't know a safe driver. I was going to hire some guy. Who knows? He kidnaps all my people.
You were driving the van.
You see. Okay. So I'm driving. And we stop and I get back in the vehicle and we start to go down this route again. And all of a sudden Waze is like rerouting. And I'm like, oh, okay, there must be something going on. Because in the United States, when Waze reroutes you, it's because there's a traffic jam or something's wrong. So I just like trusted it. So off we go. Into the fading sun, in the dark, in the country, on a dirt road, in a manual vehicle, all of our luggage packed on top and just praying it's not going to rain because we're going to flood out 100%. We're going down. But as we're driving, we're like, what's going on? Everyone in the car is super silent. So I like casually turn on the worship music to like calm everybody down. Phones start going, signal lost.
Oh, God.
It's getting bad. Luggage starts falling off the top of the vehicle. And I'm having to pull over, run out, get the luggage, bring it back, put it back on top. People are holding luggage inside the car. I mean, people are getting sick. It's really fun. And I did this random thing. And to this day, I mean, me and God will work this out later. But I was like, Lord, I don't care what you have to do. I need you to lay down some pavement right now. And I kid you not, everyone in the bus will contest. We come up over this hill and brand new pavement with like brand new little stickers and paint and everything. And I was like, I don't even need to ask any questions. We're just going. So yeah, they were trauma bonded from the beginning of the retreat.
Like, meet your neighbor.
Yeah, it took us 6.5 hours.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, but even in that, okay, so that's funny to like, I'm sure it was not funny at the time. And it's just funny to recap. I've heard you tell that story before. And that's why I was like, but even in that, like, how was that retreat? Like,
it was magnificent. And I'll be honest, when I like, because you're like leading, you feel responsible. Everything in my brain, I'm not going to lie to you guys, is like, I'm a fraud. I shouldn't have done this. This was a terrible idea. All these people are going to get killed. We're going to get hijacked in the middle of the woods. Like, I don't even know what I'm doing. This is terrible. Like, I go through all that imposter syndrome. I go through all this self-doubt. I'm like, but I'm trying to hold it together and be calm and keep the calm space for everybody till we get there. But we get there, we get them unloaded. They're all inside and I just like start bawling. I'm like crying.
Just a minute.
It's fine. And it was so funny because someone called me. It was actually Brooke.
Yeah.
She called me and at the moment said, like, I felt like the Lord told me I needed a call. She didn't know where I was. She didn't know what was going on. And she's like, I just want you to know that what you're doing is good and you're supposed to be doing this. And I was like, I'm going to choose to believe you right now because I do not feel this at all. But honestly, it was amazing because they really were connected. They had this story. Obviously, there was no real danger. So like, fortunately, right, we weren't in a terrible situation. But they were all just very connected and bonded from it. So it was a beautiful retreat. Yeah. Some of them are still friends to this day and have been in each other's weddings.
And, right? And we're going back.
And I'm not afraid.
So, like, let's go.
You trust me?
I trust you. I trust you to figure it out. How's that? I trust that you have learned some lessons and now you know And that really is like kind of it's like there's always something. Every single retreat, I feel like I can go back and pick and say like, okay, this I won't do again, or this I will do again, even if it offends people, or even if it, because and that's something like no retreat will be perfect. And some retreats will be perfect for some people.
Yes.
And some people will be like, I will never do this again.
Yeah.
And you're the same person doing the same thing. And two people are going to experience it differently. And I think that is important to realize. And that's why you have to, I think, stay true to your convictions, continue to refine the process and strategize and do all of those things, but really stay true to who it is you're trying to reach and what you're trying to share with them and teach them. So, well, I'm excited to go to Costa Rica.
I am too.
It's going to be fun. So do you have anything else that you would say to our listeners that are kind of like, okay, I kind of want to do this, or, I feel a little bit more like kind of knowing what to expect. Like it's not going to be perfect and I got to just jump, and little strategy, reach out to my friends, all the things that you've shared with us. Is there anything else you would say to them?
Yeah. I mean, there's so many places where you really just have to do things afraid. You have to do things without knowing everything and having everything perfectly in order. But mostly, if you can hold your hand open and be gracious with yourself and with others, people love authenticity more than they love like a perfect meal plan or a perfect schedule. So if you're going in there and you're just being really honest, and if you mess something up, man, just confess it.
Yeah.
Like it's okay. Nobody is
I love
expecting
that.
you to be perfect. And I think it creates a lot of space for you, especially if you are feeling like, I don't know if I can just pull the trigger. I would say just, you know what, try. And like I said, there's some really simple ways to do it with friends or people that you feel safer with. You'll learn a lot about yourself, and that'll be the way to break out of that, like, I'm scared, I can't move. So try it with someone safe first and then go for it.
Okay, so if people want to connect with you on social media, how can they find you and be a part of whatever you're doing that
right?
week?
Exactly.
That week.
Okay, so on Facebook, it's just Sarah Hall. I have an H at the end of my name. On Instagram, it's a little more complicated. It's Sarah Dawn.Hall, which still an H on the Sarah. So
okay. And we'll link all of that, and people can just find you there, connect with you, see what you're up to, and hopefully hop in. You guys hop in. All right. Well, if you need just a little bit more strategy and maybe hand holding as you're starting to take your next step to offer retreats to your guests, go to christiansdoyoga.com/retreats. And I have a little workshop that I've put together to help you do just that. Thanks so much for joining us. I hope that this was helpful for you. Make sure you share it with your friends, and we'll catch you on the next episode.